This summer I went to Europe. That is chic. Now that I couldn't afford. No. I'm like eating rice and beans for the rest of the month, but it's so worth it. It was a really good time. I went with my sisters, and so if you ever go on like a girls' trip, especially with your sisters, I feel like the way you have to describe it to people afterwards is like you did based on how many fights you had. Like how many times did one of us look at the other one and like lose it over something mundane? And the answer was only 2, which is pretty good. Which is pretty good. We're maturing. It's incredible. And it didn't happen until the end of the trip when we were all just like tired and cranky. At one point, my sister looked at me and she goes, "Honestly, I know I'm just a little jet lagged and a little hungry, and they don't really have water in this country." And I was like, "Bitch, I get it." We had to look at each other like, "You need to gentle parent me right now because I'm a little cranky." To me, it just felt like by the end of it, it was tough. But to me, like everything about a European summer, like just feels better. Like to me, I was like, we're gonna be sipping wine in a piazza. The sun's not gonna go down till 10 p.m. Like when I picture an American summer, I picture my hands sliding through the horizontal slats in like a cheap chair to pull. You know what I mean? That's what I picture. Like going to the beach. To me, going to the beach if you're in Europe, you have like a canvas tote with a mineral-based sunscreen and fresh fruit. And then in America, if you're going to the beach, like the only word that comes to mind is schlep, right? Yeah. Just schlep, just like the heaviest cooler ever, and like ice cold turkey sandwiches. Honestly, just dining like a picnic, just the very idea of a picnic in Europe, I'm like, that's affordable, romantic alfresco dining. That's beautiful. In the U.S., I'm like, that's the first thing I think of is ants, then mosquitoes. Then maybe rats, then right back to ants. Even smoking, oh my god. Okay, in Europe, smoking is really cool. And over there they make it look chic as hell. And so I bought a pack of cigarettes, like, and if you've ever done that over there, you know it's disgusting. It's like a black box with a diseased lung and a tracheotomy, and you're like, oh my god. And they're like, yeah, have fun, unpack that. Here, if you're smoking in the U.S., like a cigarette, I'm like, Jeremy Allen White, I'm like, put it away. What in 1994 are you doing? Like, oh, I can smell it from here. I'm like, that's trashy. But over there, I did buy an entire pack. And then gave it to somebody on the last night. I was like, take these. I'll never use them. And we left, and my sisters and I were like, do you think they like loved that, or like they probably weren't? I don't know. They might think they're drugs. Like I have no idea. But in my head, I was like, it was a party gift. Really. I thought I was gonna have like a Mamma Mia experience, you know, a fling while I'm there. 1, 2, maybe even 3. I went to several cities. The closest I came to that was that I did make out with an Irish guy at a club in Paris. Okay. Which like kind of sounds fun. And then at some point he was like, we should go back to my hostel. And I was like, when you add the letter S to the word hotel, when you add that letter, you lose amenities, okay? In a way that I was like, as soon as he started describing his accommodations by the number of bunks, I was like, I'm out. I'm out. I'm stone cold sober all of a sudden. But I mean, it was fun. By the end of it, though, I literally was. I was like, I want ice. I want air conditioning. I want a Dr. Pepper in a styrofoam cup the size of my face. I wanted all of my trashy Americanisms. And I don't know, there's part of me feels like when you go abroad, there's like this kind of like negative stereotype that we as Americans don't have culture. But I was raised in Texas, so I do. I have my own unique culture that is sometimes hard to defend, okay? But in other ways is so rich and beautiful. You know, the Waffle House.
Yeah.
For instance. Bluebell ice cream. I mean, there's the rodeo, the Houston Rodeo. Oh. Now that I will lean as far left as I can, and then when the rodeo comes up, I'm like, I think we should keep it. I actually love it. And I have all these friends in New York who I like try to describe it to, and as I'm describing it, I'm like, huh, I really thought about it like that, but it's such a fun time. It's literally the best time. My favorite event is team calf roping. Which speaks for itself, I think. Okay, if you guys don't like that one, like, honest to God, buckle up. That feels like one of the cooler ones. The whole thing is like a, I'm like, let me take a sip of Cosmo before I get into this. So the whole thing is, it's a fundraising event for, what's it called? A scholarship fundraising. Scholarship fundraising. And I know you're thinking, oh, they all collect money, put it into a pool. Perhaps they write an essay. Perhaps they send in an application. No. That's not how it works. Okay, so what we do is we get about 30 high schoolers, okay? And they're all in something called FFA, Future Farmers of America, or the 4-H Club. These are both real things. Ask your hometown friends to ask their friends from college if they knew someone from the South, okay? And so we put them in, picture, this is at NRG Stadium, this is a football stadium, okay? But instead of a field, it's just red dirt, okay? And we have a big circle in the middle of it. And everybody comes out and they're wearing these like clean pressed white shirts, and they all have on jeans and boots and a lasso. And what we do is we say, okay, we're gonna release a dozen calves. And if you can catch it and get it back into this circle, you can raise it next year through FFA or 4-H Club. Then you can sell it at auction for the next year's rodeo. And then that's how we donate to the scholarship, is that we bid on these animals at auction. And I need you guys to know that this really is a charity, because the last year, some senior, their grand champion steer sold for over $1 million.
What?
Over $1 million. That's not really that's not the going rate for cattle, okay? That's not the going rate, but it's for Scott. So it's this beautiful thing, it's called the Calf Scramble. I'm like, I can't tell if I'm losing y'all or if you're interested in coming with me next March. But it's really the best thing ever. And it's so fun to watch, and inevitably, like, somebody will be pulling a calf by the tail, and you have to remember these calves, I mean, they're babies, but they're 600 pounds or something. Like, they're not that easy to wrangle. And I just love a community where it's like, we're sending you all out with the lasso, and not one person is like, I don't know how to use a lasso. It's like, that's a given. That's a given. And then at the end of each rodeo, we have a concert, a performance, and it's been everybody from, I mean, Beyonce has performed. I mean, the biggest names you can think of, okay? Selena Gomez has absolutely performed. Look at me when I say in high school I went to see her and Justin Bieber perform the same way.
Whoa.
They went happy and happy because they both only had one album, I think. And it was really good. It was a really good time. And I remember being one of 75,000 people being like, I mean, they may come up to the 600s for the One Less Lonely Girl, right? You never know. So every night while they set up for this concert, because it's this really incredible stage that like spins 360, while they're setting that up, they gotta distract you with something as the audience, right? So they set up something called mutton bustin'. Now mutton bustin' is so, I mean, get on board. No, before I say this, know that every kid and parent signs up on their own accord, okay? They sign up on their own accord. So what we do is we get a bunch of sheep, okay? Then we get 5- and 6-year-old children, and there is a height requirement. We put them in a helmet and a vest, and then we put them on top of the sheep. There's no saddle or anything. We just, and we're like, and we tell them, you know, hang on to the fleece. And then, once you let the sheep go, they have this natural instinct where they'll just run forward. So you just see how long a kid can hold on, right? And it's a race. It's like, who can hold on the longest and the farthest? And I was explaining this to someone, and they were like, so what's the end? And I was like, no, they all fall off. I'm like, there's not an like they all fall. I said, who can go the farthest though? And then at the end of it, they like present them all with the buckles. Some of them have fallen off. They've all fallen off. Some have been run over. I mean, they've all suffered. But that's the beauty of rodeo, right? Is one of you gets crowned a buckle, and the one I went to last time, I just remember they were like asking this little kid. They were like, so like, how did you do so well? And he was like, I just grabbed on and I held on. And they were like, that's incredible. Did you practice? And he goes, yeah. And they go, where? And he goes, inside. And they're like, oh, you don't have a sheep at home, right? Like, how'd you practice? And he goes, no, I made my daddy get on all fours in the living room. I'm sorry. To me, that is traditional family values. And that is something I stand by.